Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. So now we're going to be talking about a collaboration between the IMA and CARIRI for Caribbean Growth and Development. Joining us in studio is Dr. Ava Maxam, Director of the Institute of Marine Affairs, and a very patient lady, I have to say as well, and Mr. Hans-Erich Schulz, the CEO or Chief Executive Officer of CARIRI. Good morning to both of you and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have both of you with us on the show this morning. How are we feeling this morning?
Very good.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So let's get straight into the conversation about what motivated this decision in order to get into a memorandum of understanding. And let's get it from both perspectives. So, Mr. Schulz, we'll start with you.
Well, both organizations have a mandate towards national development.
Okay.
And we're looking at pooling the resources and the capacities of both organizations towards projects and actions that would, one, facilitate both of our organizations, and two, add to national development, economic activity, and so on. So I think that sort of was a natural sort of fit between the two organizations in terms of what we do. CARIRI, of course, part of our mandate is to provide value-added technological solutions to industry. And, of course, the IMA does research development, mainly in the marine environment.
Yeah.
I think it would be a natural fit.
And that's something that's so fascinating as well, because many times, you know, I remember with like the IMA, for example, we'd see loads of projects coming out talking about lionfish, all these sort of different things. But now to see this collaboration, looking at research and development, what really was the push, would you say, for the IMA to come with CARIRI?
Well, we're realizing more and more that it's not enough to do research for research's sake. Research is not something that we just want to put on a shelf and, you know, not really have it translate into real practical impact on the ground. So this is why we thought it was so crucial at this junction to form this collaboration with CARIRI. We want a lot of our research in the marine, coastal, oceanic space to make an impact, to be part of industrialization. You know, we're in this new fourth revolution of industries, and it's crucial that we are keeping abreast with that. So we thought it was very, very important to get that formalized through this memorandum of understanding.
Wonderful. Now let's talk about the missions and goals of the IMA in particular, as you mentioned, research and development. How is this going to align with those goals?
So the IMA primarily is focused on research. Most people know us for research, but research that impacts development. So the development part of it is crucial. And of course, a lot of the information that gets out there, the information, their awareness is very important for knowing about our coastal environment, the dynamics of it, and then how that relates to our livelihoods. So it's not just about, you know, the research and understanding the data, but how does that data go into national development?
Wonderful. And of course, CARIRI definitely is going to complement this.
Well, yes. CARIRI, again, part of its mission is the value-added technological solutions to industry, again, through innovation, entrepreneurship development. So we can look at developing different, for instance, products to get it commercialized, looking at training, as well as ICT and app development coming out. In fact, we already have done an app for the IMA called See It. And so it's a continuation of a natural fit, I think, that will allow both organizations to tap into their resources and pool resources. And I think moving forward, we can have a bigger impact together within this memorandum of understanding.
Oh, undoubtedly. And I mean, you just mentioned an app that I'm ready to download, and I'm sure many are ready to download it as well, because this is the key where we are now, as you mentioned, fourth, let's say, edition of industrialization,
That's
for want of
right.
a better expression. This is how we live now. Now, let's talk about some of the possible projects or initiatives. You just mentioned the app. What else are we looking at, Dr. Ava, that will be coming out of this MOU?
Well, because of our expertise across the organization, training and capacity building is crucial. And so there are training programs that we'll be establishing between the two. And this is training that could range from looking at app development, technologies that are important for making sure that we make sustainable types of living. You know, something that's harmonious with our environment and with a lot of the changes that we're seeing now. We'll also be looking at shared facilities. So the facilities at the IMA, how can that be of benefit to CARIRI? And likewise, all of the facilities and labs and skills at CARIRI, how can that benefit the IMA?
Wonderful. This sounds like it's definitely going to be something that's transformational for our landscape as well, which we are going to look forward to.
I think also you can point out too that we're also looking at maybe application for, there's a lot of projects, international and regional agencies.
Okay,
that
wonderful.
we can pool both the resources of both organizations to apply for funding for certain types of projects together, leaning on the strengths of both organizations, both in the marine area and technology and innovation development of CARIRI. I think would allow us to tap into some of those projects on a bigger scale.
Yeah. And for RMA, we want to make sure that any Blue Economy initiative, that we become the hub or the center for the development of these initiatives. And a big part of that is making sure that the business development side of things is set up in such a way that it benefits not just government or private institutions, but even people who, such as NGOs, organizations such as NGOs who are more grassroots. So it's trying to tackle how do we ensure that we're sustainably creating these livelihoods so that they are working well with the environment, with the protection of the environment and preserving what we have. I don't know if, when people think of Trinidad and Tobago, we probably think of the over 4,000 kilometer square land space. Yeah. But really, Trinidad and Tobago as an EEZ is an ocean state that is 13 to 15 times larger than that land mass. And so in looking at all of those resources, the wide range of resources available because of our ocean resources, it really is time that we make the best use of that, but that we do that in a sustainable way that is managed well.
Something that you just mentioned there, something as simple as, all right, well, we are an ocean state, is not something that's general knowledge, let's be frank about it, right? And there is so much that needs to be shared. And one of the things that comes to my mind as you speak about this is access to information and education initiatives. Is this something that may be covered, maybe not now, but perhaps in the future with this MOU?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
And this is why we created See It, for example. For people interested, that's SEAITT. And it's an app that looks at environmental incidences, especially in the marine space. You can report those incidences on this app. But through a lot of our conferences, workshops, these are what we have planned for trying to make people more aware of these types of technological developments.
And I think integrated into that again is, as you said, the training element, entrepreneurship development, innovation application, which is something CARIRI does on a regular basis. Our Center of Enterprise Development. It's something that I think that can have a ripple effect, a multiplier effect on economic activity on the smaller level, where we can take ideas and things that have been developed in-house and allow for that entrepreneurship development, innovation then to take its own path, allow for greater economic activity on the smaller scale and on a larger scale.
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Schulz, you just brought me into my next question because that was one of the things I really wanted to discuss as well, because I'm getting a theme of community and community development, particularly sustainability as well. And I'm assuming that's one of the primary focuses of this. But what do you think are going to say some of the main benefits that are going to come out of this for the wider community?
Well, again, greater economic activity coming out of, for instance, commercialization of project ideas. Right now, the IMA does a lot of good work in research and so on, but unfortunately, it may sit on the shelf. Looking at now commercialization of those projects and ideas, getting it out a marketable product, looking at intellectual property and licensing, which is another area that's been untapped. I think all these things, again, have an impact not just for the institutions involved, but greater economic development generally. Because I think once that starts that momentum, I think you will see a lot more interest coming out from the wider community, the business community even, and that would allow them to use some of these ideas and apply it commercially. Again, CARIRI is familiar with commercialization of ideas and innovation and technological development. So again, it seems like a natural fit that will allow for that application in the marine environment and of course, wider economic activity.
Undoubtedly a natural fit, definitely. I love the fact that you use that word momentum, because it's so important when we see things like this happen that, it doesn't just stop when the MOU ends. So that leads us into after the MOU? Is there anything in place, any plans to extend this and continue this collaboration moving forward so we continue to have this educational impact and raise awareness?
Yes,
Dr. Ava?
definitely. So the MOU right now is slated for 2 years, but we definitely see the potential for extending it. And I mean, certainly we can think of, what's been happening in our environment, even globally, that's impacting our islands. And once there's that change, a good example is what happened recently with having to go through COVID, having, to bear the brunt of impacts of climate change, for example. So our environment is always dynamic. There'll always be room and possibilities and potential for collaboration and growth. And that is what we want to make sure we have in place.
Indeed, I can reinforce that. In fact, we see it only as the beginning of a longer-term collaboration, a sort of structured approach to allowing both the building capacity of both organizations and building from strength to strength. So I see this moving beyond the 2 years, and I dare say I think this could be the beginning of a very long-term structured relationship that would benefit not only the organizations involved, but the greater, wider national community.
Now, this is something that's so fantastic because one of the things that we know just from this conversation, we know CARIRI has a lot on its plate, let's be real about it, along with the IMA as well. And something that you mentioned, Mr. Schulz, is the fact that we're looking at international collaborations moving forward as well and impacting the community. Can you share with us, if you can yet, I know it's a little early, but can you share with us perhaps who the teams are going to be working with?
Well, when we talk about international, we're looking at international organizations that they offer grant funding for projects. Blue economy projects, we're particularly looking on in collaboration with the Institute of Marine Affairs. In fact, CARIRI is already involved in a blue economy project with one of the international agencies, and we want to increase that capacity by working with the IMA to allow us to tap into those types of projects using the capacities and resources and capabilities of the IMA in the blue economy area, which CARIRI is only now recently getting involved into. So I think this would hasten that pace at which we're working with international agencies to tap into grant funding for specific projects related to blue economy, which is a spectacularly growing field, especially in view of the wider climate change concerns and issues. As we know, we have COP28 currently going on in Dubai and so on. So I think we are at the right moment, right time, and this is the moment for this to happen.
And a good example of that is our oil spill monitoring project, which we'd love to expand on. And there's no way we can do anything further until we have these types of collaborations, as IMA will have with CARIRI. And IMA already has their lab facilities for oil spill monitoring. IMA has a rich research background and or remote sensing capabilities as well. Will marry very, very well with a lot of the technology that CARIRI has in place.
This is amazing. Now, I'm so sorry to cut you, but we're definitely going to have you both back on the show, especially to talk about oil spilling in particular, to talk about the developments that we see, the technological advancements, and how working together is going to benefit, as you would have mentioned, of course, our economy, but also us as a community as well, raising that awareness so we can also know how we can do our part by perhaps even just downloading the app. See it as was shared with us this morning. Mr. Schulz and Dr. Ava, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Looking forward to having you both back on as we continue the conversation and see where this collaboration is going to go.
Thank you so much. And anyone interested in learning more, please feel free to visit ima.gov.tt.
Yes, and of course, CARIRI.com.
Wonderful. Trinidad and Tobago, stay tuned. There's more coming up on the Now Morning Show right after this.